On your mark, get set, go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Larenz Dean Show. How y'all doing? I'm your host, Larenz Dean. So, I'm not going to be on this live too long. We're going to get straight to the point. What you're here for? Today's subject is the lawsuit against Vince McMahon on the Ring Boy incident. And I'm just going to read it for you. New lawsuit alleges child sexual abuse of WWE ring boys in Maryland. A new lawsuit accuses the WWE and its founder of fostering a culture of sexual abuse within the organization and looking the other way, while a longtime ringside announcer, Mel Phillips, preyed on young men he hired as ring boys. So pretty much, back in the days, they had this ring announcer by the name of Mel Phillips. You've probably seen him once in a while, especially during Madison Square Garden, a lot of house shows and stuff like that. You would have seen him back in those days. Um, Basically, what he would do, he would lure in the young boys. He would target young men that come from disadvantaged homes. Pretty much either a single mother, without a father and mother in the household, single parent household, and he would try to target those to try to let them know, like, hey, you can come to the WWF. Look, you can join the guys that you grew up watching, your favorite superheroes and stuff like that. He would use that whole allure of him being surrounded by celebrities to actually bring in those kids. And what were those kids' job? They were ring boys. They was in charge of building up the ring before the show and then breaking down the ring after the show. I'm sure they was hired for cheap labor. I'm definitely sure they was hired for cheap labor. Almost positive. Let me just allegedly. Um, just because for the fact that for them to be working at the WWF at that time, them working for WWF and being around guys that they watch on TV, I believe you being a child their age, that would have been considered payment enough. But let's move on. It says in Baltimore, a new lawsuit accuses the WWE and its founder of fostering a culture of sexual abuse within the organization. Okay. Well, we said that part. The suit was filed. The suit was filed Wednesday in Maryland, where recent laws changes eliminated the state statute of limitations for child sex offender. Now, this is very important. I'm going to read it again. The suit was filed Wednesday in Maryland, where recent law changes eliminating the state statute of limitations. Now, what does that mean? Before, you had a certain amount of time to actually report a situation, and then once that timeline passed, you was unable to legally report it or do something about it legally wise. But now they reopened it based upon sexual harassment. Okay, and it says the limitations for child sex abuse claims, opening the doors for victims to sue regardless of their age or how much time has passed. Okay, the complaint alleges that Mel Phillips, who died in 2012, would target young men from disadvantaged backgrounds and hire them as ring boys to help with the preparations for wrestling matches. Phillips would then assault them in his dressing room, hotels, and even in the wrestler's locker room. According to the complaint, which was filed on behalf of five men. So, and this is a funny thing about this. I wonder how that's going to happen because two of the biggest accusers, as far as with this lawsuit, they passed away. So I'm just curious to find out how that's going to work. And then now you notice Vince McMahon, He's almost seems like he's turning his back away from the business of professional wrestling, and he's going into this entertainment stuff that he's talking about that he's looking to do. Um, so, and I know he has his movie connects and so on and so forth. So it seems like he's trying to wash his hands away from this. But now here's the question I asked, and I'm interested in you guys' comments. The question is, if he if he settles out of court with this situation, is it going to be like another P Diddy situation, like when he settled out of court overnight with Cassidy? And if he settles out of court with this situation, are there going to be 100 more people coming in? And at the same time, if that happens, is he really going to have it? And I know Vince McMahon, he has bankroll, he has a lot of it. But let's be for real. After selling outside the court with this situation, if that happens, and then more people come, they just going to look at him with just like a price tag around the neck and say, oh, we could really get something off of him. So my thing is this: if that was to happen, would he have even enough money to even start this new venture of his? That's the question. So I want to show y'all something that this is not the first time that this was being brought up. This was actually brought up a while ago. Oh, yeah, a long time ago. And let me see if I could pull this one up. I want to show you something that was done with Barry O. And a lot of you from back in the days, probably a lot of you old school wrestlers probably remember Barry O. Barry O was, and correct me if I'm wrong. As a matter of fact, let me see. Give me 1 second. Got to do my facts check here before I start speaking about it. Okay, we found. All right. Okay, this is Barry O. Randall Barry Orton. Okay, born May 28, 1958. Oh, didn't know. Passed away March 19th, 2021. Was an American professional wrestler, actor. He was a son. He was a son of professional wrestler Bob Orton, brother of professional wrestler Bob Orton Jr., and the uncle of professional wrestler Randy Orton. Now, I had to bring this up to mention. Now, let's go to the video that I want to pull up. That this was not actually the first time that these accusations was brought up on Mr. McMahon. Okay, check this out, guys. Just put it on full screen. It's not so damn bright.
You accused that executive grabbing your crotch, legs, and chest and wouldn't stop.
Yeah, well, I was in between the two of them in the back seat of the car on the trip.
You were in the center.
Right.
You thought it to be a place where a junior guy has to sit.
Pretty much.
This was the early 80s?
This was 1978.
78.
Right.
So this is before the billion-dollar Wrestling Mania pay TV Hulk Hogan era. And you had to drive. You know, you guys weren't walking in money then.
Right. And everyone, the more people in the car, the better, because everyone would split the expenses and keep their car.
And then don't you saying that you got out of the car and said, not me? And
yeah. Went on for several minutes. I finally demanded that the car be back. At first, I thought it was kind of funny that they were joking, but then it became, harassment.
Right. Barry, it would be hard for a jury to feel a whole lot of sympathy for a guy of your size. You know what I mean? A helpless woman you're not. How old were you when this transpired?
19 years old. Probably about 35 pounds lighter.
And also probably not altogether together in your head, like a lot of 19-year-olds. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely not. You know, and I was trying to be accepted into the business. I was young, I was green.
And you got the big dream ahead of you. Maybe you're going to be the big guy. And there was money if you got on the main card.
Yeah.
So you're following your dream, and I suppose you want us to know, among other things, that when a couple of guys in the game, executive types, come on to you like that, and you're 19 years old, you may be a little hesitant to tee them off.
Of course. You know, and so I endured it for as long as I could until it became, I started feeling suffocated and I couldn't take it anymore.
Tom Hankins, you're likewise a pro wrestler. What's your story?
So you have Barry just finished telling you his situation as far as when he was dealing with the WWF. Now, this was brought up in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, as far as it was in the 90s. It was in the early 90s. This situation was brought up. So what you're hearing right now was not the first time, as far as this lawsuit, was not the first time that it was brought up to Vince McMahon's attention. It's definitely not the first time. I want to actually bring up another wrestler that was also involved. And you guys are gonna check this out right here. Let me know your opinion about this. See, pull this one up. Okay, check this one out. This was another allegedly accusation.
And Mushnick of the New York Post writes a piece. Phil Mushnick of the New York Post, his lead last week: the billion-dollar pro wrestling empire is about to be shaken.
Wait. Hold on. Oh. Wrong one. 6. Okay, right here. Sorry, guys. Bear with me.
Feeling suffocated and I couldn't take it anymore.
Tom Hankins, you're likewise a pro wrestler. What's your story, Tom?
Well, I'm a former pro wrestler. I got out of the business about 4 years ago. But back in 1985 in Los Angeles, California, at the University Hilton Hotel, after the WWF had run a card at the sports arena, I was sitting at a bar with, can I name these people?
Sure, go ahead.
With Pat Patterson, Andre the Giant, Dr. Jerry Graham, and Mike LaBelle. He was a Los Angeles promoter at the time, or a former promoter in Los Angeles.
Right.
And we sat there drinking maybe for an hour or so. I was talking to Pat. I'd known Pat for maybe 6 months. I knew he was gay, but, it didn't matter to me if he was gay or not. And I knew he was actually kind of running the shows in L.A. at the time. I don't believe he was in position as the booker yet. And I asked him...
Let me interrupt to say that he is one of the executives who has resigned.
Right.
Very good, sir.
And I asked him what's the chance of using me to do jobs, which means I was a loser. I'm not real big. I never made a lot of money in the business. I didn't really expect to go in the WWF, make a lot of money.
But you wanted to be in the game.
Yeah, I love the business. I worked for $10 a night sometimes in Tennessee, just to wrestle, just to be in the business.
Right.
At the time, in '85, I was wrestling in Hawaii, in Mexico, and Southern California. So I asked Pat for, if he'd give me a shot or at least a tryout. He said, well, you got 2 chances, slim and none. He goes, well, there is one way. And he wanted me to go up to the room with him and have oral sex with him. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm not interested. And after that, I went to the next show they had at the sports arena. Went down to the dressing room where they'd always let me, I was in the dressing room, friends with a lot of the other wrestlers there. And Pat had me physically thrown out after that, acted like he didn't know me.
Right. What brings you forward now, gentlemen?
Actually, I came forward because when Vince said Barry's charges are ridiculous, it was just, I knew it was something that went on in the business, and anybody in this business really knew about it, knew what was going on with Patterson.
Mm-hmm. So this is this is a feature of this culture that has been underway for...
So look, like I was saying, some of these guys that was brought up as far as in this lawsuit, they're not even living right now. So the lawsuit is against Vince McMahon that he actually knew what was going on and he did nothing about it. You're going to hear right now what Vince McMahon's thoughts were on those allegations. And this was, keep in mind, folks, this was back in 92. Okay.
Sex harassment activity was taking place. Sir, you wanted to say.
We've never looked the other way in anything. And I'm very happy to confront everyone today with whatever allegation they have. The three individuals about whom most of these allegations are hurled are no longer with the WWF. We have started an independent investigation on our own to get to the bottom of all of this, and that's why we're here today, is to get to the bottom of it. We may even learn something here today that my investigators do not know. I want to get to the bottom of it just like you gentlemen do.
What would you like to say to him? Anybody?
I'd like to say that it's about time because up until now you've been animately denying that not only that this is taking place, but that and you're saying that you knew nothing of it, and I just find that really difficult to believe.
Well, there's no reason. How do you find it difficult to believe that I knew nothing of it? Why would I condone this kind of activity and risk this alleged kind of revenue?
Because Vince, because you are the king of an empire and you have eyes and ears everywhere, and it is so common, at least the topic of conversation for 3 to 5 minutes every night in the dressing room, because a lot of the guys, they have to put up with it and they hate it because if they say anything, they're out of a job.
I don't believe that to be the case, but there may be some of it. If that's the case, then let's get to the bottom of it. I'm anxious to learn, just as you are.
Well,
I want to hold some organization. I want an organization that everyone can be proud of. I want to get to the bottom of it, just like you do.
This happened to me. I tried to call. I called the WWF offices. You were always in a meeting. They took my number, said you'd return my call. But, you didn't want to talk to me, basically. And I'm sure at the time you didn't know who I was, didn't know what I had to say. But, I tried to explain it to whoever I talked to, and I called. And, they didn't want
This was when, sir?
1985.
I don't recall the telephone
Has
call.
there been any lawsuit?
Do you believe that sexual harassment exists in your workplace?
I believe that there's a possibility of sexual harassment existing everywhere. And
I asked directly if it was in the World Wrestling Federation.
I don't want it in my organization. I don't want it.
I'd like to reiterate the question. Do you believe there is sexual harassment amongst the wrestlers or employees of the World Wrestling Federation today?
There is a possibility of that. That's why I have these independent investigators to come in.
And who are these independent investigators?
Fairfax Group Limited. And I would like, to hear what you have to say, and everyone has to say. I want to get to the bottom of it.
Would you therefore believe that because of all these allegations coming forward and more corroborating evidence proving that there's no doubt sexual harassment is running rampant in the World Wrestling Federation, that you are definitely going to come public and do something about it?
Why wouldn't I? If in fact that is the case, why wouldn't I do something about it? Why would I risk what we have?
Because you haven't done anything about it until it became public, because you thought it was
Because I
underwater.
had no knowledge of it.
I made knowledge of it to you when I was fired, and you just blew it off and let me go. I retained a lawyer.
You were not very good. You were not a very good announcer. You could not. That's the only reason why you were fired. You could not make the transition from radio to television. That is the only reason why you were fired.
I would like to remind you, sir, that I have a 2-year contract. 2
You
years.
also have a clause in your contract that states, and as you know, you were hired on a trial basis.
I was not hired on a trial basis.
Do you not have a
Mr.
contract?
McMahon, I have a 2-year deal
in
with
that
your firm.
contract, you will note in a clause it states very clearly, and I have it outlined for all to see here today, that you can be fired almost at whim if in fact you're not doing a good job. You did a horrible job. That's the only reason why you were fired. That's it.
Maybe I should point out, first and foremost, that might be your inability to pick good talent.
It could
You
be.
had a national
Granted.
talent search, Vince
It could
McMahon.
be.
You advertised in Billboard magazine and across many different media sources, searching for one man that could be the new face and voice of the World Wrestling Federation. Back and forth 4 and 5 different times from Detroit, and you chose over the course of 1 year of negotiations that I would be the man for that job. I didn't sleep with your vice president. 2 weeks later, I'm fired. I also want to point out one very important fact. From your office came a letter to my landlord to verify my employment. From that letter, I must bring this point up. It says Murray Hodson has a very secure job with Titan Sports and is a positive and productive employee. From your office. Just because I don't sleep with your vice president, that qualifies to blow me out of a 2-year deal? I don't buy it.
Listen to the response. Listen to Vince's
Said very
response.
well, but I believe if untrue. If in fact these allegations against Pat Patterson, whom you won't name, are true, why not pursue the legal course, the legal recourse? Why not pursue?
We are doing that right now.
You are. And you are aware that you waited 6 months after you were let go to bring these homosexual charges against Pat Patterson. 6 months you waited. Why?
September 14th.
If in fact you were fired on the spot, if you were fired for incompetence, all right, why didn't you say right then, why didn't you say, hey, look, Vince, your vice president made a pass at me. You never told me that. No one had any knowledge. Human Resources had no knowledge of that. Rene Dubose was waiting to hear your story. Why did you wait 6 months? You asked me for $160,000 today, otherwise you were coming on this program. I'm happy you're on this program.
Mr. McMahon, do not try to deflect the truth here. First and
What are you asking
foremost,
for? How much money have you asked for?
I have never asked for any amount of money from you. You have tried to buy me off to shut up so I wouldn't come forward and tell of these allegations that's running through the World Wrestling Federation.
Your attorney should be consulted.
My attorney, on September of 1991, came forward to you with a letter addressed to you, telling you exactly what happened and that I was discharged wrongfully. I had a 2-year contract and that you too were well aware of the fact that there was a homosexual advance made against me. Don't tell me I waited 6 months. 3 weeks later, I was on your rear end.
3
6
months later?
weeks later.
No.
The only reason we waited a little longer was because you continued to try to negotiate to buy me out, and I wouldn't allow it.
The fact of the matter is, if you look into this man's past, the fact of the matter, if you look
I
into
don't
your
think we should bring up the
I
past.
guess not.
The
Okay,
issue
sure.
at hand
All
here,
right.
Mr. McMahon,
Okay.
is one thing and one thing only. You addressed on Larry
That's
King
not the
Live
only issue.
Friday
the
on
only issue.
CNN. You went on and you said that I never worked for the World Bodybuilding Federation. I am on a video that is sold around worldwide.
True, your
my
voice
voice. So you told the country that I didn't work for the World
You
Wrestling
weren't
Federation.
employed.
you were a freelance and you were hired.
Well, of course
All
not.
right.
Second
You weren't
of all,
make the
you
point.
said you fired me. You didn't fire me. John Filippelli not only gave me the letter, but he also fired me. John felt so bad that I was
Enough of
being
this.
released.
So you hear the reason why this man got fired, as far as he refused to actually sleep with one of his employees, Vince McMahon employees at that time, and he got booted. The funny thing is, but I didn't let it run. You could see it yourself. It's on YouTube. Vince's response to that was that the reason you got fired because you sucked as a commentator, and I was like, oh man. I mean, the deflection was real. The deflection was real. They also brought out Bruno Sammartino. Now, Bruno Sammartino spoke about a couple of things, but I'm just going to point out when he's mentioned as far as with the whole ring boy situation, he did mention about the accusation about the steroid situation, which, that was already discussed a while ago. But our focus is the whole ring boy situation. So let me fast forward here a little. All right. Right here.
Hey, what's not so funny, Billy? Tell him. You saw ring boys? Did you being sexually harassed?
Yes, I've seen ring boys being sexually harassed.
What's a ring boy?
A ring boy is a person who's usually employed to put up and take down a ring, travel from one town
How old
to
is
another. Age group possibly from 13 to 19 to 20, fluctuates anywhere in between.
And you saw what?
I saw on one occasion, I believe it was in New Haven, Connecticut, Pat Patterson actually grabbed one of these children in the crotch while putting up the ring. I came to the ring a little bit early, walking by the ring to the locker room, and I saw Pat Patterson with his left arm on the kid's shoulder and his right hand in his crotch. I witnessed this for myself.
You also claim to have, you did not see the abuse of a 12-year-old boy in the car. You mentioned this on Larry King's program.
I wasn't on Larry King's program.
Now, and now this was sorry about that. This was actually Superstar Billy Graham's account. Now, again, I'm curious to find out how this is going to go. Just due to the fact that one of the two main people that's being accused in this whole situation, they're no longer here as far as living. They passed away. And Vince McMahon is also moving on to, like I said, building this new entertainment company. What that entails, we have to wait and see. What I want to do right now is actually see how well this aged. So I'm always interested in the comment section. Um, let's hear what some of the fans have to say. All right. What the hell is up with the audience laughing at men talking about being abused and harassed sexually? Well, that's a good statement right there. The thing was, back then, it was sort of unheard of. I guess it was taboo for a man to say he was sexually harassed and stuff like that. That was mostly the stuff that was happening to women. So when men actually stepped up and started talking about that, they was laughed at, they was ridiculed, you name it. Um, let's see. They was laughing. They was laughing at Vince answering of the questions being asked to him. That's what the fans was laughing about. Well, let's see. I mean, I know the laughter pissed me off. Like it's not taken seriously because it's happening to men. It's the kind of bullshit that makes it. Well, excuse me for the language. It's the kind of BS that makes it hard for men to come forward when they are sexually abused or harassed. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, now there's a platform for that. And, because there's a platform for that, I'm sure you're finding more and more men that's actually stepping up and coming out and being more honest about that situation. Let's go. Just how it was back in the days. That's what another fan said. All right. Let's move on to something else. This aged well. That's what I was. What was I saying? I wanted to see how well this aged, and a fan just finished saying this aged well. Wow, unbelievable. Uh, even for $9.99, I bet you won't find this little gem on the WWE network. Well, that's when it was promoted. You got to remember this video was a while ago, and this comment was done like what 10 years ago. Um, yeah, this is when they was talking about promoting the WWE network. Yeah, definitely this was not promoted on the network. Forget about it. Um, how iconic in 2024 that we're hearing Vince talking about this 32 years ago. Yeah, yeah. That's why I agree with what that fan said that this aged pretty well. Um, none of these people would be laughing if that happened to their child, which is true. Which is true. Everybody loves to snicker and laugh until the tables turn and it's happening to either you or somebody you personally know. So I definitely agree with that. Um, it took 32 years, but karma caught up with Vince McMahon. Mm, yeah, listen. What did that comedian say? Cat Williams. He said the year 2024, that's going to be the year everything is going to start being revealed. Well, whew, boy, did it ever. Um, they said at 15.35, that was they mentioned the timestamp. 15 minutes 35 seconds. Dang, this really holds weight after everything that comes out with Vince McMahon in the last 2 years, but especially in the last 24 hours. Whew, yeah. And this comment was made 9 months ago. I am only I am all for women's rights, but it baffles me how these women are laughing at rape allegations between men in a very macho business. I guarantee you, if it was a helpless woman or some very feminine uh, homosexual man, they would laugh. They wouldn't laugh it off. Yeah, exactly. But again, you guys got to remember back then in the 80s, that was unheard of for something like that to happen to men. That was definitely unheard of. Um, let's see. Let's see. Mm-mm-mm. What the hell is wrong with everyone giggling about rape and sexual assault. Yeah. Uh, this show foreshadows things to come in Hollywood and into entertainment industry. Yeah, 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 yep. Oh yeah. Let's see. The show is the show is much more important today. All right. Who's here in 2024 during the scandal? You ever seen that? Um, when somebody writes that down on an old YouTube video or an old video in general, and it's something that's currently happened, but it was spoken of like years ago, and then they write, "Who's here right now in 2024?" That's funny as hell. But yeah, I mean, not the situation, but how accurate that person is. Like, you're not the only one here watching this. Um, wow, seeing this in 2024 is absolutely wild, knowing what has come forth in years since. Yep, yep. So, I mean, for those who think this is just happening, nah, this has been brought up like years ago, years ago. Um, I'm impressed that Vince went on the show and faced the heat. Yeah, I give him credit for that. He's always had a fighting spirit, never back down spirit. Now, whether he's wrong or right, that's a different situation. But I give Vince credit. He never ran from a fight. Um, there's not one person in that room who is on his side. Yeah, yeah, it was like a bonfire set up for him, and he still stood there. Yeah. Today, Vince finally got caught. Um, Idiot had it all. Now his life and possibly made more. What? Let's see. Today, Vince finally got caught. Idiot had it all. Now his life and possibly many more guys who were involved will be ruined over. Well, what we could hope and pray for is that justice is served, and again, all these things that's happening behind closed door that used to stay hidden behind closed door is now being revealed, as you see. Um, let's keep it going. It is so strange to me that the crowd laughs in a very serious in very serious moments regarding sexual harassment. Again, yeah, that was back then, and this is when you're mentioning something that's unheard of. This is the type of reaction that you would get. So I understand. Um, Rest in peace, superstar Billy Graham. June 7th, 1943, May 17th, 2023. Okay. So embarrassing in 2024 that people giggling about this. Yes. Yep, yep. First time watching this, February 1st, 2024. Well, hope it was an eye opener. And it's not only in professional wrestling, like somebody mentioned, it's in the entertainment business, man. But now it's like, because there's a platform, now things are being revealed. So Dark Side of the Ring needs an episode on this Cream team. Oh yeah, the Cream. Yeah, that was the name of that infamous group. And again, two of them passed away. But that infamous group, if you wanted to get ahead in the business, you had to join the Cream team. Oh boy, no need to get into details with that. These three guys are incredibly brave to come forward, especially that day and age. Yeah, because Vince could have had you swept right underneath the table. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad that fan mentioned that. Let me let me pull up something right now. Let me pull up something right now. 31st. Let's see. Why these three men are so brave? Let me tell you. And this is coming straight from the horse's mouth. Straight from.
Sorry, you weren't. Bruno was.
Okay, wait. All right. All right, let's start from here.
I'm gone because they're more important than I am.
Yeah, you wanted to say Bruno very briefly with all kinds of folks in this audience who haven't even had a chance. They're coming after me here. I'm going to need you in just a minute.
McMahon said, why didn't they go to the authorities? What you folks don't know is that you don't go to the authorities if you want it because you're dead. You're finished, kaput, blackball. His father blackballed me all over the country, not for this, for some other issue.
Well, let's not bring in the...
No, I won't. I'm
sure
just talking about that there's no union,
Right.
there's no protection for the wrestler.
Very
you
good.
speak up, you're dead.
Vince McMahon, here's the charge. You had to see this. Your agents, right under you on the organization chart, are accused. 2 of them have resigned, including an announcer. Where were you all these years? Was the money so good? Was the glamour so great? Was the business exploding so wonderfully that you didn't have time to get into this kind of thing and you looked the other way and allowed it to happen? That seems to be the way this charge is evolving against you.
I certainly didn't look the other way. There's no reason for me to look the other way and risk everything that we have going
You
for
didn't
us.
know
What
any
Barry-
of this was going on, Mr. McMahon?
No, I did not. What Barry is making reference to is an act some 14 years ago.
So there you got it. So that's a response. I played that video to respond to what that fan said about, what would have happened. Let's see. As far as these 3 guys being brave. Ironically, this was way more entertaining than anything that WWE has produced in the last 15 years. Ooh. And this was a comment made 4 years ago. So let's see. Vince had that furious, God damn it look that whole time. Yeah, I know the look you're talking about too. Let's see. San Martino brings the most weight to this conversation. As far as the truth goes, no union, blackball, etc. Also, LOL, at Mesler's correcting Vince, absolute gold. Yep. Well, again, you guys could see that whole thing. I'm not going to play that whole thing. You guys could see that whole thing when you get a chance to. That was on the Donahue show. As a fan of Vince my whole life, he knew exactly what was going on, and to have underage kids getting sexual favors makes me sick. Yep. And to think this stuff been going on for how long? And could you imagine if we didn't have a world of the internet and the social media didn't exist? All we had to rely to actually get the truth was TV, which it could actually be manipulated. Like you could allow certain things to come out and certain things not to come out. That's why a lot of us was in the dark. Like this stuff's been going on. Shit, it's probably was going on in the 60s. We talking about stuff that they revealed in the 80s. This stuff was probably going on in the 60s. Stop playing. Let's see. Vince survived this. He survived WCW, but for some reason he cannot seem to counter the PG era. Yeah. Respect to Vince for agreeing to appear on the show to face and deny those allegations, knowing fully well that his company was guilty of all of them. Well, we gotta say allegedly. I'm reading the comments of the fans, so But yeah, listen. Leave in the comment section below. Let me know what your thoughts were as far as on this particular Larenz Dean show. But yeah, the case is back open as far as for the Ring Boy incident. And well, we'll see where it's going to go. So, on your mark, get set, go. Thank you for watching the Larenz Dean Show.